Thank you for joining us today in this event that is called From Lab to Market. And here we wanted to discuss today about the transfer of technology from universities to the economy. I want to welcome everybody, and especially our colleagues from Columbia University who have traveled from there, and also from Endeavor, and also the Columbia Global Center, which are co-organizers of this event. I would like to first call our rector, Ioannis Chatjigeorgiou, to address the event.
Good afternoon to everybody. Distinguished guests, it is a great pleasure and honor to host this great event, the premises of the National Technical University of Athens. And also it is a great pleasure that I welcome you all to the workshop From Lab to Market, Fueling Greece's Innovation. The event is co-organized by Columbia Global Center in Athens and the National Technical University of Athens in collaboration with Endeavor Greece. One of the most important missions of universities and academic institutions, beyond high-quality education and impactful research achievements, is to serve society by contributing applied research solutions to tackle global challenges. The National Technical University of Athens has a long tradition in world-class research in almost all engineering disciplines and beyond, and has been actively contributing ever since its inception to Greece's economic development and social progress. Through its Technology Transfer Office, NTUA facilitates the commercialization of intellectual property generated in the institution. NTUA bridges the gap between demand and supply of specialized innovation services within the Science Agora Hub and the Energy Competence Center. Moreover, NTUA participates in the EU-list European University Alliance, which serves as an intermediate and generator of knowledge and innovation addressing the challenges of climate change and social cohesion by accelerating the green and digital transition. Also, in deep tech innovation, a key area in tackling the most pressing global challenges, in creating new jobs and more sustainable societies and economies, NTUA researchers are performing world-class research and innovation. Via our high-quality education and world-class research, along with our values and dedication to serving the society, we nurture the next generation of engineers with a synthetic mindset and critical thinking. Through the advancement of interdisciplinary excellence in innovation, NTUA's prominent research groups have embarked in the development and application of various cutting-edge technologies and methodologies in various engineering fields, including computer science, information technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, neural networks, computational engineering, mathematical modeling, urban and regional planning, and many more. NTUA's internationalization and outreach strategy further enhances the institution's mission by prioritizing strategic future-focused collaborations with specific impact and involving key stakeholders in developing in our approaches. Thus, we have already initiated a cooperation with Columbia universities within academic and scientific initiatives. As an example, COATH initiative between NTUA and Columbia University, established in 2020, aims to facilitate student and recruitment, academic exchange, and joint grant applications. Columbia University is one of the top universities in the world, based on its academic excellence, its groundbreaking research, and the accomplishments of its faculty members. Furthermore, Columbia's rich experiential learning provides opportunities connecting higher education and society interlinking diverse experiences through hands-on and applied work in real-world contexts. So today, new potentials and possibilities lie ahead of us and strengthen the ties between our two universities, initiating an academic dialogue of university-driven entrepreneurship and deep tech commercialization, enhancing the role of universities in fostering local and global innovation networks. Distinguished guests and dear colleagues, today we welcome you to the National Technical University of Athens, where experts from Columbia University and NTUA will discuss and hopefully establish new initiatives that will facilitate technology transfer from university ecosystems. Stopping the formal addressing, I welcome you. I want to invite you all in a unique event that will take place tomorrow. For 3 days, the NTUA opens its labs. 43 laboratories will open the gates in order to host 5,000 Lyceum students. And of course, you are very, very much welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gianni. So I would like to ask Stefanos Gandolfo to talk, who is also the director of the Athens Columbia Center, to talk on his behalf. Thanks.
Dear Rector, dear faculty and students, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and honor to be here with all of you today to explore this crucial and rather complex issue which holds a lot of promise for the future of our universities and societies. As the Vice-Rector explained, I'm not Kostis, I wish I were. I'm Stefanos Gandolfo, the Director of Columbia University's Global Center here in Athens. And first of all, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to NTUA for its warm hospitality in hosting today's event, as well as to Endeavor for being such a valuable and creative partner. I would like to convey on behalf of Kostis Maglaras his heartfelt gratitude and regards, and unfortunately, due to recent developments, he unfortunately cannot be here with us today.
Columbia University in Greece is driven by one key idea: the creation of partnerships. As the university's presence here in Greece, the Athens Global Center aspires to be, first and foremost, a hub of collaborations with Greek universities and other partners in order to co-create meaningful and impactful programs.
From the engineering to the business school, and from the humanities to the social sciences, the Global Center here in Athens embodies and represents the whole university, acting as a springboard for faculty and students to pursue such collaborations which advance knowledge and broaden our collective horizons. The event today, I would say, marks a significant moment in the ongoing collaboration we have between our institutions, where academia, research, and entrepreneurship come together to explore the best possible ways in order to bridge the gap between the lab and society.
The power of international, inter-university partnerships lies exactly in our ability to harness the diverse areas of knowledge in which we each have expertise, and to create and foster new ideas.
Coupled with on-the-ground business expertise and acumen, we can empower emerging entrepreneurs to bring their groundbreaking ideas to life. In today's rapidly evolving landscape, collaboration in all forms is critical to turning research into impactful solutions. The world is facing unprecedented challenges. Columbia knows a lot about that. And on the global and local levels, and the only way that we may solve them is if we come together. For this reason, Columbia is committed to contribute to finding innovative solutions with our partners here in Greece.
We are excited to be part of the conversation here today and look forward to the inspiring discussions and collaborations that I'm sure will emerge as a result.
Thank you all for being here. It's really amazing to see such a large audience here with us today. And I very much look forward to the presentations and the discussion and to all of your questions during the Q&A. Thank you.
Next, I would like to call to the podium Professor John Kymissison from Columbia University. He's the Kenneth Brayer Professor of Electrical Engineering, and he's the Vice Dean of Infrastructure and Innovation at Columbia. He was kind enough to give us a talk earlier at the Electrical Engineering Department on electronics, on everything, right? A very light presentation, very interesting presentation. So today, now he's going to talk about our main theme from lab to market.
Thank you very much. Great. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the Columbia Global Center for organizing this, and also to thank everyone at the Polytechnico, the rector, and also Vice-Rector, and other who have been giving such tremendous hospitality. It's very exciting for me, even though I'm of Greek heritage. This is my first time coming to Polytechnico, which is a little bit embarrassing, but that's more on me than anyone else.
It's never late.
It's never late. That's the best part. So I'm going to speak for a few minutes about innovation and entrepreneurship at Columbia SEAS, and I'll highlight a few programs and a few things that SEAS does. But as you may have heard from others, Columbia, while we're a big university, we're also a very small university in a few ways. All of the undergraduates are either part of the School of Engineering or the College of Arts and Science. And so we have a very close relationship with all of the other departments. And so even though there are 19 schools across the university, I speak with my colleagues in chemistry, but in the law school, the business school, very frequently. So as you see the programs, almost all of these are actually university-wide, and there are a few other programs that we take advantage of as well. So one of the questions that we get a lot, and one of the topics actually we discussed earlier today, is what do we do and what does it cost? And we don't have a perfect solution at Columbia for anything. I mean, there are schools that are more successful at commercialization and less successful, but what I think is important is to find the components that work and to put energy and effort into those. And at least at Columbia, I'm going to highlight these 8 things. And there's sort of 2 halves to that equation. Half of what I think has been effective is to have an effective sequence of programming. So these are systematic programs which people can participate in, and which provide the ingredients that help teams be successful. But even more than that, it's really the ingredients that help students decide that they can do it. There's often this sort of mythology about commercialization in which students, they'll watch movies like The Social Network, and they'll think, wow, if I can't raise $100 million on a handshake, we can't do anything. And that's absolutely not true. And so finding ways to encourage students and to give them that, I'll say, easy on-ramp, I think is really important. And then, of course, they need to have support that comes along. And some of that the university can do, and some of it can't. The second part, which I'll speak about, is facilities. Now, some of those facilities are already here. We spoke earlier today about starting a makerspace, and I'll show a couple of photos of ours. But some of these facilities, it's really a question of policy in many cases. I got a tremendous tour of the Polytechnico earlier today. I got to see the clean room, for example. And the clean room is very nice. Everyone says it's very small, but it's only half the size of our clean room. It's actually pretty good. But the difference between a clean room that starts startups and the clean room that just does research, in many cases, is a matter of policy and choices that are made in, for example, tool acquisition, and figuring out how to work those pieces. So I'll speak a little bit about that as well. So the programming part at Columbia has a few components, and the one that I'm most involved with is a program that's called the NSF-I Core program. Now, this is sponsored by the National Science Foundation. The National Science Foundation is our federal government's agency that primarily supports science and engineering. And about, I'm going to say 15 years ago, the National Science Foundation, the National Academies developed a report, and that report criticized the National Science Foundation for spending a lot of money on research, but not demonstrating any return in tax dollars to the federal government as a product of that research. Which doesn't mean it's not happening, but the proposal from the National Academy study was to make a program that was visible, and particularly to make it visible to Congress, so that Congress understood the financial act that came back. And based out of that, a program which is called the NSF I-Corps program was started. Now, the way that this works, at least when it began, it's based on a curriculum which is called the Lean Startup Curriculum, or the Lean Launchpad. And this was developed as a course at Stanford University. And I, somewhat by accident, was in the first time the course was taught. So I got an email from the National Science Foundation asking, do you want to start a startup? And I thought, sure, why not? I don't know what to do. And I had worked at a startup, but working at a startup is about spending money. Starting a startup is about raising money. So I thought, I'm gonna learn something. I don't know, we'll find out. So I signed up for it, and they flew us out to Stanford, actually, and they taught the course, and I was like, and I have to say, I always believed in the system, because we finished this course, it was 10 weeks. And by the end of those 10 weeks, we actually had a handshake for a $250,000 project with one of the customers that later became like a much larger customer. I was pretty impressed. So, I've been through that program 3 times myself. But separate from that, the program went from one site to multiple sites, and Columbia now is one of the sites that offers the program. And I'm the Columbia PI, although I didn't start it at Columbia. It was started by a colleague of mine, and then when he was ready to retire from it, I took it over. So how does it work? So there's a national I-Corps program, which I'll say anybody can apply to. Now, you have to have certain qualifications. So in general, you need to have had a project with the National Science Foundation, and then you also need to say that you're commercializing something that was invented in that product. Now, the National Science Foundation is huge, and almost every faculty member has some project that would qualify, and that's pretty straightforward. But to sign up for that program, you have to sign up for 9 weeks, and this shocked me the first time I did it. But at the first class, they tell you need to interview 100 people. And I was like, I don't know 100 people. And they say, don't worry, if you can interview 10, you'll get to 100. And that was true. Because part of the system is figuring out, every interview you need to ask, who else should I talk to? Can you introduce me to someone? It's like a spider, and then it grows, and then you can go there from there. But the challenge that the NSF found is that this 9 weeks is a very big commitment. And so what they also developed, and this is where I became more involved, is what they call these regional programs. And the regional program is only 2 weeks. You don't need to have a project with the NSF. You don't even have to have a team. And we offer this now at Columbia 4 times a year. You take this course, and it's a little bit like a little baby version of the course. The big course, it follows this model, which is called the business model canvas, which is based on that book, Business Model Generation. And instead of doing all 9 sections of the canvas, we do 2 sections. And at the end of it, teams can have a feeling, you know what, if it's not for them, no problem. There's no harm, no foul. And if they're ready, they can then move to the national program. And we've had several teams do the regional program twice to get ready for the national program. And they build their skills, they build their network, they get ready to do those 100 interviews. But they've done 20 with us, and then they can do a better job. Now, our program, just to give you an idea, we don't charge anything, and we also don't give the students anything except for lunch. We feed them once. The whole program is virtual except for one meeting, which we have. But if they do finish the program and they're at Columbia, we do then give them a small budget. They can have up to $3,000 if they have a team of 3, it's $1,000 if it's a team of 1, to go and interview 1 more customer. And then the national program gives a much larger budget. It gives a $45,000 budget, with the intention that you use that to go travel, beat the bushes, meet customers, and go around. And that's one piece, and that's been a very successful program. And again, I've done it 3 times, and each of them personally, and each of those 3 times we've ended with a startup. Now, a second thing which we do a lot of is to support hackathons. Now, I say we do it, but of course, I don't do it. Hackathons, the great thing is that very often students are very motivated to do them. And so hackathons are often run by student groups. So one that I was just a judge, so I spent maybe 2 hours. Was this Columbia University Robotics Club, and this is one example. We usually have 5 or 6 of these a year. Now, what the students do need is they do need help. So they can run the hackathon, but at least at Columbia, and Elise can testify to this, finding space, for example, can be very complicated. And this is where we can help. So in my job, the dean's office is like, oh, sure, the students can rent the cafeteria. It's like the students, they don't have money to rent the cafeteria. Okay, we can rent the cafeteria for them because they're renting it from us, so great. And then they need some money for t-shirts and food. This is relatively small dollar amounts, but helping them with a little bit of money and helping with the logistics can often move that along. And if you take a look, the robotics club competitions, 24 hours in and out. And again, it was pizza and the space, but people made amazing things. One group made an artificial dog. There was a group that made a levitating robot. It was incredible. And some of the projects are more advanced, some of them are simpler, but this really helps to get students thinking about doing things. The much bigger part and the much more expensive part is we also have a number of funded programs. And we used to have them a little bit scattershot, but Oren Hershkowitz, who also unfortunately couldn't be here, he was going to speak a little bit on this. He works for our technology transfer office, and what he's done is consolidate all of them into a single kind of unified structure, which they call the Lab to Market program. And these generally give research funding inside the university, which allow you to develop prototypes. And some of them support a student for a semester, some of them support a student for a year, but these are much more substantial dollar amounts, and typically $50,000 to $150,000. And again, they're sponsors from outside. Sometimes they're companies, sometimes they're funding agencies, and the Lab to Market programs help organize that funding. And the great thing is we already have, for example, the regional I-Corps. So one of the Lab to Market programs, which you see on the bottom, which is this Center for Streetscapes, they require the teams do our program, they test their proposal, and then they can propose to get the real money afterwards. And so this way the teams are better prepared and they're more seasoned in understanding the problem and understanding how to speak to customers. And then the last part that I want to highlight in the programming side is our competitions. And we have what's called the Startup Columbia Venture Competition. This gives out a number of prizes, cash on the barrel, no strings attached. And it also gives a year, if you win, of free incubator space. And so we run an incubator, which I'll talk about in a minute. And one of the prizes is that they can have 2 desks there for a year, and that helps them get off the ground without spending a lot of money. Now, again, any team can participate in the Startup of Columbia program if they have at least 1 Columbia participant, but the teams that are most successful are the ones that have been through the earlier programs. And so I like to think of it a little bit as a pyramid, where you want to have kind of a zero barrier start, refine the program, maybe do it twice, maybe do it 3 times, and then work your way up. And so those are the kind of the programming side. Now, complementary to that, it is also always a crisis for startups when they don't have space and they don't have facilities. And one of the resources that we have at Columbia, which I'm very proud of, is our makerspace. Now, the makerspace started in a closet. The makerspace did not come from God. It started when we started. And the makerspace now is larger than it was. It's nicer than it was, thanks to a generous gift from someone who came to the closet and said, wow, you should do a bigger space. And and what the makerspace does, it's not super fancy, but it has a machine shop, it has a wood shop, it has 3D printers, it has sewing, it has electronics. And again, it's not for commercial use, but students can go, faculty can go, sometimes facilities uses our machine shop. It's a better machine shop than theirs, apparently. But they can go, they can get some work done, and you don't have to own all of that gear, and you don't have to have the space. Student clubs can use it, and it creates a great environment, not just to get things done, but where the students also meet each other. And so, again, forming those teams and having people with the same ideas, especially if they're from different schools, I think is really critical. And so the makerspace, I think, is really great. And I'm looking forward to when the rector visits on April 4th. I've cleared my whole day, so we can visit the makerspace and talk more about how you can translate that here. But the makerspace is simple. What about the more advanced technical facilities? So at Columbia, we have millions of dollars in advanced research infrastructure. And including our clean room, we also have electron microscopes and many other of these kind of high-tech facilities. And it was really a challenge for startups to consider doing this. If you want to do a startup in microelectronics, how do you have a whole lab and get that going? And so we were able in 2012 to work with our legal office to create a structure in which our internal recharge facilities, so if you use the clean room, as a faculty member, you have to pay, it's usually $10 or $20 an hour. Startups can also come and use those facilities. And that required a new legal structure, but we put it in place. And that significantly reduces the capital barriers to starting a new startup. And it's open not just to Columbia startups, but to startups actually as long as they show up. And actually, one of my former students who's at IBM sometimes comes and uses it, and they're signed up just like any other startup. And they're able to use those facilities. And so it's good for the university, and it's also good for the companies that use it.
And then the last that I mentioned is office space. So Columbia rents a floor of a co-working space.
It's not a WeWork brand space, it's a different company, but it works sort of the same way. And then we're able to then offer that as a prize for the competition, and it's also sublet to certain schools. And so, that helps startups get started because the space is often a real challenge. And I've seen startups rent apartments in New York and do all kinds of strange things to find space. And this gives them a nice place to at least get started, and then they'll graduate and grow out of it. And then once they're ready to graduate, there are lots of community facilities. The City University of New York has some parallel facilities, and they've also structured their clean room the same way as ours. I'm on their advisory board, and so they've been able to more or less copy our model. And there are also now community co-working spaces, et cetera, that accommodate startups. So I'm happy to speak more. We have a lot of history of collaboration, and we've worked a lot with a
nonprofit, for example, in Tunisia, and the Global Center in Tunisia,
which has tried to encourage startups and try to bring some of the same components there. And all of us are really motivated to provide help. So we'll have a Q&A later, but be very happy to answer questions over email and during the Q&A, and very happy to help it. Ivy, who's my partner in crime, despite her name, is half Greek, so she's also very excited to find the opportunity to come to Greece. So thank you very much. So our next speaker does not need introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. And it's Professor Manos Varvarigos, who's the Vice-Rector for Research and Innovation, and also a professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Systems Engineering, right here at the NTUA.
Thank you, Yanni. Thanks a lot, Yanni, for sharing these best practices of Columbia. We feel very close to Columbia because both universities are boutique universities in some sense. We are small universities, but we have a lot of impact. And also, a few weeks ago, the Dean of Engineering of Columbia was here. Sifu Chang was here, the Vice Dean also of Engineering. And we discussed about collaborations in the form of dual degrees, etc. But we would like to extend these ideas about collaborating also to the technology transfer field, where they have significant expertise and willingness to collaborate. So, for I will do a presentation for the benefit of our visitors and also for the benefit of the people who are not really related to NTUA. I would like to give a brief overview of research at NTUA and also the efforts that we are doing currently for technology transfer. As you know, we're the oldest university together with the University of Athens that was created in Greece. According to the national quality rankings, we're #1. We're an engineering school, so we don't have medical schools, we don't have law schools, etc. And we have about 400 faculty members and about 4,000 graduate students. And research in NTUA happens in its research labs, but also we have the research ICCS, the research institute that mainly deals with the work of the electrical engineering, the research of the electrical engineering department. Here is some numbers regarding the research output of NTUA. So here you see the number of publications and also the number of citations per year by NTUA researchers. You see that there is a very good tendency, growth tendency, despite the fact that during these years the number of faculty of professors was not increasing during all these years, but the numbers in terms of publications were steadily increasing. And you see here on the right that we deal with we do research on all aspects of engineering and also mathematics and physics. And about 160 researchers from NTUA are in the top 2% of highly cited researchers. Now, in terms of, this is in terms of publications. Now, in terms of the research funding that we get, here we have some figures. The top figures are from for ELKE. The bottom figure are for ICCS, EPISA, which is of course an integral part of NTUA. So we see again a very good growth over the years. In 2024, we had about 170 million euros attracted research funding of total of 170 million if you include both ELKE and ICCS, which is a growth of 15% per year, which is rather remarkable, I believe, given that we do not, the number of people do not grow at that rate. Some things that are not very well known, probably not even within the NTUA community, is that the NTUA is the 10th organization in Europe in terms of research funding. And it is also the 7th organization in Europe in terms of its centrality. Centrality is a measure, is a metric that says how well connected is NTUA to the rest of the research community of Europe and how important it is in this environment. So, and here you see that NTUA is number 7 in centrality. As I said, it is another 10 in funding. And if you look at the 6 first organizations here, you will see that there are organizations like Fraunhofer, like Fraunhofer, like CNRS, like NIT, which are organizations, coalitions essentially of universities. So if we look at individual universities, NTUA is indeed number 1. So this is something that we don't know, even the researchers of NTUA, and I think that it manifests the quality of the students and of the professors that we have here. And in general, not only NTUA, but other Greek universities are doing very well in terms of their role in the EU research landscape. And here you see what are the areas of research that attract most of the funding at NTUA. Probably this These figures are not very clear, but you will see here at the more important on energy. We have also information systems. We have AI, and we have materials, and we have all areas, but we have a specific particular strength in these areas. So this is in terms of research that's going on, where I believe that we are doing extremely well at the top of the European, the top levels in Europe. Let's look at what we are doing in terms of technology transfer. Recently, less than 5 years ago, we launched the Technology Transfer Office at NTUA. This was done also simultaneously at other universities to support the transfer of research, the research, the lab to market concept, essentially, how to make research translate into social and economic impact through the entrepreneurship and through the creation of spin-offs, and etc. So the Technology Transfer Office has been making very considerable efforts to commercialize the research that has been done through it emphasizes, it deals with the protection of intellectual property, helping with the help of spin-offs, and helping with the legal advice, the spin-offs, creating mentorship programs and mentoring programs for these spin-offs. First of all, actually identifying what is the research that has been done, because a lot of research has been done here, and we want an innovation radar, let's say, that is going to tell us where our more exploitable results are. And also, the purpose of the Technology Transfer Office is also to connect with funding agencies and VCs, etc., and also with the more general community outside the NTUA who is interested in NTUA's results. So the results up till now are the ones that I show here. We have a total of 8 spin-offs that have been established and another 2 spin-offs that are under evaluation currently. So a total of 10 spin-offs. I would say that this number is very mediocre, given the research output that I described before, the research successes that I described. I want to clarify here that these are spin-offs where NTUA participates. We have anecdotal evidence says that NTUA alumni are among the founders of about 30% of the startups in Greece. These are outside the university. What is the number of spin-offs is still pretty low, I would say, and the target is to multiply it by a significant factor. I don't know what the factor will be, but probably 8-10 times more than what we have now. I don't want to go, we have also some specific strength in the energy sector, so here we have created the Energy Competence Center with the collaboration of some big companies and organizations in Greece, which is trying to create value in the energy area. Without going into detail about the specific services, I want to spend a little time on discussing why we have this gap at NTUA, probably not only at NTUA, between the success, demonstrated success, the proven success that we have in research, and the results that we have in terms of technology transfer and spin-offs. So, one reason may be that the technology transfer offices were only recently established. And actually, even after their establishment, their funding had gaps. So this creates, of course, problems when you want to create something that is going to be, some office that is going to be helpful. And from time to time, you don't have really the money to do it, and you have to resort to internal funds of NTUA. Important also is the fact that the legal framework for faculty's participation in the spin-offs was rather vague until recently. So for some time I think it was even forbidden. Then it became uncertain exactly what are the rules. Now, of course, it is clear that the faculty can participate in spin-offs, but this is rather recently, and it has created damage in the past, this vagueness that existed. Another thing was that is related to culture in the university. It was not always positive towards entrepreneurship, and also society's expectations from the universities and the NTUA in particular were also uncertain. It was not clear whether the society wants the universities to participate in the economy through technology transfer. I think that this is becoming more clear now, but for some years there was a lot of ambiguity, what is expected from the university. Another reason for the gap, I think, is especially for NTUA, which doesn't have a business school, is that we create good engineers and therefore possibly good chief technology officers, but building a business is something that is different than being a technologist. So being a CEO is very different than being a CTO. And a lot of engineers and a lot of professors here are very interested in technology, but they may not really want to go into business, or they put a lot of effort in. Another problem for the gap is that the support that we get from the state, research gets from the state, is not periodic. We have long periods, as we know, where nothing happens, there are no calls. And then there was short periods of a lot of calls that happen, many calls within a couple of months. So this burstiness is not good for research, especially for research that produces also products. And also, I would say that the calls where we submit our proposals usually do not support the risk. Okay, so we talk about in terms of deliverables, in terms of very specific things that have to be delivered, otherwise something bad will happen, while research has to be of the high risk, high returns value, especially if it is to become successful for the economy. Another reason is that even though the state is supportive from time to time, at least, to SMEs, it does not really distinguish between normal businesses and deep tech businesses, which is our interest. Okay, so we are not, NTUA is not in creating SMEs in general, it is in deep tech startups, where intellectual property is involved, the research is involved, and a lot of times any help that is given towards the businesses does not really have criteria related to these issues, to the research aspect. Another thing that has prevented our research success to become economic success is the relatively low technology readiness level of our research. This is because of the lack of equipment, because we do not have a lot of equipment, at least until recently. This means that we have sometimes very disruptive ideas, but they remain at the theoretical level without going all the way to becoming products. This is trying to change. NTUA has, for example, the call for Aristia has helped to get some equipment, but this is something where we still have a disadvantage. And also the connection to the industry, of the university research to the industry, is not always direct. The connection to the Greek scientific diaspora, which we have today several people from the Greek scientific diaspora. The connection is not there yet. And not only scientific diaspora, but also the funding, let's say VC diaspora. And we have to put more emphasis on that. And also the defense sector has not helped the universities, where in other countries it has helped. So these are what I think are creating the gap between our success in research and our mediocre results in technology transfer, and I think that this is where we have to put a lot of emphasis, to the degree that a university can put emphasis on these issues. Of course, many of these issues are not under our control, but at least we should know where we should try. Good news is that we have some support now for the technology transfer offices, both as part of the Aristia project and also as a part of another proposal that we have submitted. So at least for the next 5 years, I believe that the technology transfer office here is going to be well supported, and we can rely on it to do the work that it has planned. The last comment relates to the relative fragmentation that exists in Greece, in the sense that there is a lot of enthusiasm these days among the youth, at least, towards entrepreneurship, towards startups, etc. Every university has created some technology transfer office, and a lot of private agencies have created such incubators, things like that, or competitions. So there is a lot of fragmentations. So what we have tried here at the NTUA is to create some coalitions, so as to create a critical mass here. We're collaborating with Demokritos and Athena, which are research institutes, and also with Athens University of Economy and Business, which hopefully will offer more talent that is business related, in order to obtain economies of scale, and so that we remove duplications of the efforts, and we can compare notes and exchange knowledge, so that we don't do the same things. Everybody the same, its own competition, everybody its own mentor and network, etc. It's good to combine efforts, and this is also where we want Columbia also to participate, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. There are many things that we have done. John Kymissison described before the concept of lab-to-market programs, described the makerspace in a lot of details, which is lacking actually in Greece, in Athens, at the NTUA, of course, all over Greece. And these are ideas which can empower our students. I think we have to look closer and use some of the experience of Columbia. So this is the end of my presentation. I want to thank Columbia University and the Center of Athens for being willing to collaborate with us on addressing some of these issues. Call to the podium Elise E, who is a professor of biomedical engineering at Columbia University. She has also some relationship to NTUA, of course, the name suggests. And she's going to introduce also the panel that we're going to have.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all of you for having such an amazing turnout. And And when I see standing room, I think it's a good sign that there is definitely interest, and there's some chairs over there. I also want to thank Stefanos for putting this together, Gandolfo. This is amazing, and I have to say I remember still in 2020 when Columbia signed with NTUA the agreement so that we can get a lot of students and exchange of ideas, and I think this is a culmination of all these efforts. And then I want to go ahead and invite one by one these wonderful panelists. So I'll start with Costantza Sbokou Constantakopoulou. So she is the chairwoman at Endeavor Greece, co-owner and chairwoman also at FEA. Then we have Konstantina Nikita. You can sit wherever you like. Yes. Professor in the Division of Information Transmission Systems and Material Technology at NTUA. Then we have John Kymmissis, who I don't think he needs an introduction, but I'll just go ahead anyway. Kenneth Brayer, Professor of Electrical Engineering, and Vice Dean of Infrastructure and Innovation at School of Engineering and Applied Science at Columbia. And last but not least, Dora Varvarigou, Professor in the Division of Communication, Electronic, and Information Engineering, also at NTUA. We're going to start. We have two main rounds, and I'm going to ask the questions that we have prepared for the panelists. The round one is mapping the university innovation ecosystem, so we're going to spend 20 minutes on that. And then round two is going to be operationalizing the innovation ecosystem, so another 20 minutes on that, and then we're going to take a lot of questions at the very end. So please save your questions because we definitely want to hear from you. All right, so I'll start with Nadia. So one very urgent question is, how can the faculty, students, and postdoctoral fellows be encouraged to engage in entrepreneurial activities? This is something that in engineering you don't necessarily are trained in entrepreneurship, and this is something that usually we find ad hoc, most of us. So how can we actively do that, and how do you model the engagement for different stakeholders within the university ecosystem?
Thank you, Elisa.
Is this on?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Elisa. I'm delighted to be part of this panel today and join this discussion on such important topics. We have heard a lot, very insightful presentation by Manos about the problems, a very inspiring presentation by John about all that happens at Columbia. And while there has been much progress in entrepreneurial activities in Greek universities, these activities are still granular, dispersed, and under-recognized inside the university. So excellent innovation happens because of the enthusiasm and commitment of individual staff and students, but the risk here is that the enthusiasm is a fuel that burns fast. To borrow a metaphor from entrepreneurship, Greek universities are at the startup phase, I would say, of their entrepreneurial journey, their innovation journey. Going further would require scaling up all these important activities across the whole organization. And this is the challenge of the entrepreneurial journey, and one that needs to come from within the university itself. Universities require, we know all who have been working in the universities, require nudging to invest in new ways of working, targeted funding and policies to support the innovation and entrepreneurial agenda in a sustainable manner. We have heard from Manos that we have occasional funding, but to support all these activities in a sustainable manner remain the exception rather than the rule. Many university systems still focus on traditional definitions of excellence, which means they measure the research output in terms of number of publications, in terms of number of citations, in terms of teaching, how much graduates universities have, but they don't integrate metrics evaluating the innovation activities that happen inside the universities. To successfully embed a sustainable innovation agenda requires both system, policy, conditions, and the right culture inside the university to support innovation and entrepreneurship. Encouraging stakeholders to engage in entrepreneurial activities requires a combination of structural incentives, mentorship, and real-world engagement. Each group, faculty, students, and graduates have different motivations, have different challenges, and different incentives work well for each group. So for the faculty, faculty often prioritize research and teaching, and it is important that they integrate innovation activities within these roles, and this is crucial. And how we can do this? Probably by recognizing and rewarding innovation activities, commercialization efforts, through decisions on tenure, on hiring, on promotion, or through targeted grants for funding translational type of research. Also sabbatical policies or part-time industry engagement, opportunities that would allow faculty to engage with startups, whether through spin-offs, industry collaborations, or advisory roles, without sacrificing academic careers would be important. And university technology offices, Manos spoke already about our technology transfer office, have a very important role, should facilitate research commercialization, simplifying licensing processing, and offering flexible policies for faculty-led startups. And already Manos mentioned about this ambiguity in defining what is a startup and whether members of staff are allowed to take part of this kind of venture. For students are, we know, are naturally inclined towards innovation, but need exposure to entrepreneurial thinking early. How we can do this? We should redesign the curriculum, incorporate entrepreneurial coursework and experiential learning, integrate real-world cases, problem-based learning, startup mentorship, and business model development within the courses. Of course, this should be done taking into account all the frameworks for building entrepreneurial competencies that are available. The European Commission has the ENTRECOM framework. Innovation challenges, John mentioned about this kind of events, and a lot of these kind of events, hackathons and innovation challenges, events where students can collaborate, foster early stage entrepreneurial thinking. Students also need access to co-working spaces. We don't have this kind of space here, but we heard that Columbia has, and other universities do have this kind of co-working spaces, which are very important for students to get access into these spaces, or startup grants, legal support, to prototype and refine their ideas. Mentorship and structured networking with investors, with industry leaders, and of course successful alumni entrepreneurs is very important, as this can serve also as role models for our students. And for postdocs, postdocs sit between academia and industry and often lack a clear pathway to entrepreneurship. So it is important that we can offer some kind of dedicated fellowship programs that allow them to work in commercializing their research without abandoning their academic careers. Also, industry co-mentorship programs where postdocs receive guidance from both an academic advisor and an industry partner could help bridge the gap between academia and industry. Startup support programs that provide legal, financial, and regulatory guidance, business development training, and investor connections are very important for postdocs looking to create spin-offs or license their technologies. So I think I'll stop here and we can.
I think you covered a wide range, which is a great introduction to that. And I want to go to Dora, and maybe you can elaborate from the NTUA aspect, so how we can have these actionable steps to propel academic institutions such as NTUA for a global competitive nature and also innovation and entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Elisa. Thank you all, and thanks to Columbia University for for organizing with us this amazing event as a prelude to a future collaboration. It looks like it's hard to be innovative on what are the actionable steps. After what Ioannis said and what Manos and Nadia said, I'm just gonna say the same things in different words, because sometimes the way you say things stick differently and become actionable steps. So, it looks like we have a first-rate ingredients to do this entrepreneurial forward step, right? We have amazing students. The quality is of the highest in Greece and abroad. We have very good professors. We have top-rate research cited all over the world, and as Manos presented. We've been able to attract a lot of research funding in many antagonistic European funded projects like Horizon 2020. So it looks like, there should be some catalyst to turn this amazing human capital into a group of people that, create and with the mind into the marketplace, into commercialization. So one of the first things that you can identify is that we don't have a culture of tinkerers, of builders, of masters. Okay? Sometimes you see spots of student groups that are really tinkerers, that are builders. They're innovators and builders, like the group that does the race car, right? So this is one thing that definitely we're missing. And the way Ioannis put it and Manos put it, it looks like the maker spaces is a first step to engage the undergraduates and the graduates and the postdocs into a maker's culture. Like we have to meet a maker culture. And this is, of course, requires a lot of not only initial funding, but also sustainability funding operational OPEX to run this every year. And of course, through these collaborations with Columbia and other schools that are doing excellent job in makerspace, we hopefully will be able to open this up for the students and the faculties, right? To be able to create spaces where you have machine shops, you have 3D printers, you have software and hardware material and so on, and even even nanofabs, to do fancy stuff. So this is one thing, but one easier thing to do is provide, as everybody said, some basic business, finance, entrepreneurial education. And this is, we don't have to reinvent the word. And this collaboration might, we might be able to form a curriculum which is very, for you, it's your everyday job. but we can share that and we can make this connection with our students. And maybe, our students have a very rigorous technical educational program. They take, 8, 9 courses per semester. Whereas at Columbia you take 4 or 5, right? Yeah. So, and the diverse, yeah. Well, we do a lot of homework as well. There's less graders, that's why there's less homeworks. But definitely there's a lot, they're very busy and the programs are very wide. So, but it's good in a sense, it's bad in another sense. The good thing is that it gives you a broad spectrum of different disciplines, which of course is extremely useful if you're looking into building stuff and going forward. But within this long program, there's not a space, there's not a spot for financial engineering, for basic business and finance and entrepreneurial courses. And of course, this is something that can be easily be corrected. And this, we're looking to fix that in the near future. As Manos said, the Technology Transfer Office is very important. You have to have people that know their jobs there, right? They are professional in supporting young researcher in commercializing research, not only going into publishing work and looking into patents, supporting them, presenting connections and opportunities to them. So this is something that we have to build very carefully. And also, we have to do some brain regain, right? Because, from this amazing group of international scientists and technologists, good part is, at least the Greeks, is brain drain from our university, right? So this is, maybe we can attract some of these people back, especially the ones that have experience in entrepreneurial projects, some Greeks or Greek Americans, but to become young faculties, researchers, young postdocs, or I guess young faculties. And maybe we should consider, taking that into consideration when we we go over we evaluate candidates for these positions. So there are a few other things that I want to mention. One is proof of concept funding is extremely important, right? And this is important to get that without selling or giving away parts of your company. So there has to be a systematic way to give some fellowships, like 20 fellowships, like 50 fellowships a year, 30, 40, 50,000 K. Give them to the students, through some, very transparent, procedures. Maybe the diaspora can help over to, make sure that those are proper and, accepted to everybody. And there's this bioinformatics institute that's been formed recently, that they're going through this path. They're trying to ensure 200 fellowships from 30 to 50K to be able to support proof of concept work, which is very interesting. And then, last, last point is one has to be very systematic. We have to do it in a very business-like, the business people know how to do that. Say, put milestones, put measures, collect, make an inventory of your capabilities. We have to do that. Sometimes, we don't know what the professor next door is doing. There's a lot of incentive to compete and not to collaborate within us, because we are all competitors to get the Horizon 2020 fund, right? So it's more, the natural path is to compete, not to collaborate. So in that sense, we overlap between ourselves a lot. And we should try to create the boundary conditions so that collaboration instead of competition is the way to go forward. And within that, within the university, within the technology transfer office, build the inventory of the capabilities of the researchers, the capabilities, the funding, the results that have been achieved so far. So we should to exploit that in a very systematic way. Set out goals, set out long-term plans, 1 year, 2 year, 10-year plans, and make sure that we check ourselves against those milestones to get the problem forward. So,
very well said. We are engineers, we are problem solvers. So thank you for setting all the problems and the boundary conditions. So that's excellent. So now John has to solve all of them. And tell us in 2 minutes how we're going to do the round. If you can give a couple of examples at Columbia, maybe the ICOR was one of them, but also a boot camp, how students learn how to pitch, how to build their own companies from undergrad and also grad, and then maybe how the government policy can also help incentivize that.
Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah, in 2 minutes.
For 2 minutes, that's great. So I'll give you 2 quick stories, and I'll tell one non-religious story. But there's a great book called The Night on the Desert in the Holy Mountain. I don't know if people have read this book, but it's a book in which it's a fictional book about the Jesus Prayer. And a priest goes to Mount Athos and speaks with the monk and says, "Holy Father," and the hermit says, no, don't, I'm not holy. And the priest is like, what's the story? And he says, no, he says, I am hiding here as a hermit. You are the Holy One. You're out in the world, and you're dealing with the chaos of your parish. And you're the one who's really doing God's work. And, okay, the rest of the book is, of course, very religious, but I find that story very interesting because, we have to not be afraid of the chaos and of things that don't work and things like that. And it's okay to be out there in the messy parts, and sometimes, not every student team is going to be perfect. Some of them have no idea what they're talking about, but, that is, like you said, those are the ingredients. That's the fuel. And then there are things that can help improve it. And that's I think, the point of that story. So the other part, and I'll just say one more thing, which is, don't be afraid. I mean, it's great to have curricular programming, and that's important. And we have that too. But don't be afraid of extracurricular programming. So for example, the pitch competition is a great example. So we have a competition. It has one prize. It is $1,000. And the students give a 60-second pitch. And I tell the students, you should compete. I was like, per second, that is the most money, even if you lose. It is the most expected value for your minute that you will ever spend. And it's amazing because, something like 60 students will participate, and they're great. Are they all good? But they get good at honing their skills, and almost always, the winner of the pitch competition, you'll notice, wins all the other competitions because they're good at explaining and they gain that confidence. So I think having that mix and not being afraid of formal is good, policies need to change. The policy, a lot of what needs to happen, and I love that you highlighted it, almost all of them are free. Like starting the makerspace was almost free. There's always somebody with a 3D printer that they're willing to give you, and a laser cutter that, a little on the fritz, but sort of works. And so you can get started, and then with the base, you can then build on it. And so, I think all the right ingredients are here, and I think I'm very excited to see where this goes. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's important to say what you said before. You start from a closet with a 3D printer, and then you go from there. Okay, and that's what people don't see. That these amazing, makerspace didn't happen overnight.
It's beautiful today, but if you went, you'd be like, wow, this is a bunch of junk. And it's like, it is, but it's our junk. And the students, and we didn't have a staff member, we didn't have anything. Then as it's used, the dean comes and it's like, wow, there are people here. I'll give you more money.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly.
It's okay to start. It's okay to start with the chaos.
All right. So now for the non-academic perspective, because academics, we like to be in our bubble and kind of lost. So, Costantza, if you can tell us more about what role Greek companies and business associations such as Endeavor have played in promoting university-based entrepreneurship.
So first of all, thank you for having me here representing Endeavor. So we in Endeavor, we see ourselves as a bridge between visionary founders. Hopefully we have a few among you guys at the back seats, and of course the ecosystem, the broader ecosystem of investors, of mentors, of institutions, and our role is promoting university-based entrepreneurship, and actually this one can be happening in two ways: empowering the individuals who take research from the lab to the market, but also building the community and the necessary environment in order for those ideas to thrive commercially. So how do we do these things?
Move the microphone closer to you.
Yes. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. So how we do these things? One way to do it is joining forces with other institutions and produce reports. Recently, we joined forces with ASOE and EY, and there's a very interesting report. I encourage every one of you to read it, that actually raise awareness for the gap between academia and entrepreneurship. A few key points. Obviously, bridging this gap is essential, and today only 51% of university departments are oriented towards the productive developmental leap of the country. So in academic year 23-24, 30.7% of departments emphasize STEM studies, but there is a significant shortage in computer science. Another thing that is interesting, another key point is interesting that we found in this research, searches of employees for businesses increased fivefold between 2020 to 2023, and the sectors more in need is information technology, more than 30%, hospitality and food services about 12.5%, and other services about 12%. Another thing we do is we support Greek university initiatives and other research centers. So this is something we are in close discussions with Columbia, and we were happy to participate and create a program together. We have already supporting ICE1, the Athens Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation from ASOE. What we do with them, we create structural pathways for spin-offs. For example, we do one day summit where we actually bring researchers turned into entrepreneurs in collaboration with investors. We also foster collaboration between corporates and university labs. So in this way, we create pilotic opportunities and we test them in the real world. Another discussion we have recently started is with HIAS. So HIAS, for those that don't know, it's a non-profit organization initiated by professors from the Academy of the Greek Diaspora that they try again to bridge the gap between what happens abroad and the Greek academic environment. And with you, Elise, you being one of them, and others here, Dora being one of them too, we have initiated discussions founding the right space, workspace, activate spaces, and bring entrepreneurship and academia together. And from that space, you never know when it's going to come out. So this is very important. Another important action we are doing is creating experiences. So late 2024, we visited Helsinki and Slash. Slash is one of the most important events in the tech community, in the tech world. It was a delegation from Greece not only government officials, but also directors from the research centers, Democritos joined us, investors, students, entrepreneurs, everybody joined this delegation. We also organized a visit at Aalto University, and Aalto University is maybe it's the most important university in Europe creating entrepreneurship. It's a hub, it's a global hub. Maybe you have all used Volt. This is where it was initiated. So with this, I don't want to tire you with many, but these are like core things we are doing in order to bring together, to be active in this environment. One more thing I want to add is that we recently went out in public with a great campaign, Innovation Nation. Maybe some of you traveling abroad, you saw it at the airport of Athens or in the bus stations of Athens. Again, it's still there or somewhere. I encourage you, you can visit the campaign and understand the ecosystem of Greece. Within that campaign, you can see all great stories, success stories of startups, who are the key players in this ecosystem, what are the tax initiatives, and the benefits that the state offers, and more information about our ecosystem. So we're trying to, create awareness.
Well, thank you for being the bridge between entrepreneurship and academia. We definitely need that counterpart. So this is also a perfect segue for the second round, which is basically more about how we're going to, enhance and harness the innovation ecosystem that you guys all laid out. So I'm going to start with John and go back to the physical space, because I think that's where you start from that closet that we talked about. So if you can give us a little more, idea about how you start something like that, because you can start in different ways, from labs, incubators, co-working spaces, whatever infrastructures that you are, the Vice-Rector infrastructure of the School of Engineering. So what have you seen works and what doesn't work?
Oh boy, great question, and also, yeah. So, all right, so we can definitely do more. So I wouldn't say, definitely don't stop with what we do at Columbia, because part of my job has been visiting other universities and seeing what they do. But certainly, I think a lot of the suggestions we heard earlier are really good ones. So for example, I was recently at Dartmouth College, and they have a program that I really admire, in which they have postdoctoral fellowships. And one of the challenges, at least in the United States, and I assume you have the same problem here, is that officially, we can't start companies out of our labs. I mean, like, we can work on pre-commercial activities, but I can't use my lab to run a company. And there are good reasons for that. But, sometimes investors, they want the first dollar that goes in to be generating IP and to be going towards equity. So there's definitely, in some cases, a bit of a gap. And so what they were able to do at Dartmouth is to get a pretty sizable donation, which then funds, in their case, I think it's 10, maybe it's 8, postdoc fellowships a year. And they're teed up so that when a student finishes their PhD, doesn't want to go into academia but wants to start a company, they can get 1 year of funding to work on it. And because it's money that goes to the university, it's still pre-competitive academic research, and then they have something they can shop around to investors, like person with the Ioannis Vector, and others who can then, they have something nice to show. And there are some national programs in the US, but they're not that generous, and they're sort of stochastic, can be like, there's the Schmidt Fellows. It's like 2 years between when you apply and you get a no. And it goes forever, and it's very low hit rate. There's a bunch of those, but so that's okay. That's the kind of the dream on that end. But I'd say the one thing, just to also leave time for others, a lot of the things that we have spoken about are free. Like, a lot of times there's a concern. I mean, we do need money for certain things. That's not to let our funding agencies and our management off the hook. But a lot of the questions, and I think you highlighted this really well, are questions of policy. So if a faculty member wants a sabbatical, I mean, I don't know what the sabbatical policies are here, but at least in the US, it's a little chaotic. The amount of funding, what you can use to pay your salary. If you disappear for a year, who pays your students? Can they work for the company? Can the company sponsor this? These are all the difficult questions. It doesn't cost anything for the university to have predictable and rational answers. And then a lot of the other things you spoke about in terms of the facilities, again, like it's sort of silly. I visited the labs here. The labs are amazing. And but if you think about every microscope, 99% of the time, and this isn't a mistake, but most of the time they're just sitting around collecting dust. And there's no reason that those can't also be rented out for commercial use. But you have to have the right structure, and it has to align with the laws of the country, it has to align with the rules of the university, and that takes some work, and some of those things are important. Same for promotion and for the other issues you highlighted. So those are some of my thoughts. Yield my to the next person.
Very, very well said. So we definitely need to encourage that ecosystem that's already there, and then obviously build from there. So I want to go to Dora about hires. So Costantza brought up hires, and Dora has been very actively board member of the steering committee. And so how do you think professors like us from the diaspora, like John and I, can help build something that you are very well aware in Greece, and what has been some examples that you can give that have worked as well in that realm?
Thank you. I want to present to you in a few words. Costantza mentioned and Elisa. HIA stands for Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies, and it's a non-for-profit organization that was founded in Boston. Actually, Andreas Budovic, who just stepped out, is also a member of the board, our ex-rector. So the idea is there is this network of Greek scientists and academics of Greek descent. Most of them have been educated for the first degrees in Greece. A lot of them have been educated in our university. So this network was formed to help to bring this, to offer this network as a resource for Greece and Greek scientific and innovation community to tap on for help and support. So it's like a network of people that are willing and ready to help. That's what it is. And it's important, I think, for academic universities such as NTUA to try to build bridges with these people, because these people have the experience of the best practices of the places they have been to. And sometimes when you bring a Greek back and you bring it back to the university, you cut off their vital connections to what you want to become, right? Sometimes say, do you want these Greeks to come back to Greece and become faculties here? To rather be able to have them connected to their power, to the powerful networks, to their best practices, so as we are able to make a transfer of this knowledge. But it is important that these people have a place to be and exist in Greece, right? Because otherwise, of course, you have this network communications, now virtual communication is very easy and it's happening, but the physical presence of these people in Greece is very important. So HIAS, for example, is organizing every year a very successful workshop or like a summer school on AI, where top researchers from all over the world gather, and there's 500 students of undergraduates and graduates that participate, and the exchange is amazing, and they've been extremely useful. Another activity of HIAS is to help in the with research and their work to the formation of the Institute of HERO, for example. So the Robotics Institute of that HERO was initiated by a white paper that some of these experts of HIAS have put together. So you see, through this consulting on policy and the way forward for research, these people can be very influential. As a last, an announcement, a small ad, we're organizing in the Friday, May 9th, the highest entrepreneurial workshop in collaboration with the largest foundation in Greece. So we're gonna talk about the recipes, the strategies to translate groundbreaking research into business ventures. Also, there's going to be a focus on AI and AI in health, which is it's going to be the focus of this year's workshop. There are going to be startup elevator pitches. There's important ventures, and we're going to be represented by their in the panels. So it's going to be a great opportunity to bring all these experts of the diaspora to talk about entrepreneurship and strategies to turn groundbreaking research into commercializable business ventures. So, and I think that highest one is a part of this collaboration between NTUA and Columbia and Endeavor, and the network will, is available for as mentors to the students of NTUA that will embark on this entrepreneurial trip, and also as our events are going to be part of this co-curricular program that probably will go on and enhance this and support this collaboration. Elisa.
Thank you, Dora. And I joined HIAS almost a year ago, and I have been extremely impressed about what is done at the summer school. In fact, the summer school at Democritus was very eventful. Right after my talk, we were ushered because of the fire, and the students didn't want to leave the room. And I said, we're going to burn. It happens every day. And they stood there, and there was so much hunger to learn and to be so motivated to be able to actually hear from us. And I was very inspired by that. And by the way, we left very safe. I think I followed you out of Democritus. You knew your way out. So it's all about our students, and we're here for our students to basically be able to engage them for a better future. So along these lines, I'm going to go back to Costantza. You mentioned the incubator space. So obviously, this is where people come together, students, postdocs, faculty, and of course, entrepreneurs and then investors. So how do you encourage this higher risk in investor of basically being able to get on board with higher risk ventures?
So there are some incentives. We have equity-based incentives like stock options, and according to a recent index listing, Greece is actually doing pretty well on that. She has a great scheme in place, being one of the six in the global list, a score of 24 out of 30, so pretty well. So companies need to give more incentives to get more into this stock option scheme. And for Europe and for Europe's tech ecosystem to truly thrive, we really need to share with our employees the success and give them a stake of what we have achieved as entrepreneurs. Tax incentives for R&D. Again, there is a very good scheme in Greece, offers 200% super deduction on eligible R&D expenses. So that means for every 100 euros spent, there is 200 euros that can be deducted from your taxable income. again, pretty high for global standards, very, very interesting, one of the best in Europe. Licensing of Greek research. Companies can benefit from reduced tax rate on income derived from exploitation of patents. Again, here we have a 50% exemption on net income that derives from IP rights. But also launching private incubators, companies launching private incubators where you can thrive new ideas and collaborate with academia, with universities in order to foster new ideas. So all these things can happen and should encourage the ecosystem to participate.
That's amazing. Great. So the last question before we take questions from the audience is to Nadia. And Nadia has pretty much put together by herself, with a little bit of help, for this translational program in biomedical engineering, health and medicine, I should know that. And it brings students, master students to Columbia for a month to do research in many biomedical engineering labs for now, but we want to expand it to the whole of engineering school. And maybe we can model some of what we want to bring now, which is basically a new program, master's program potentially, where you learn engineering, but also entrepreneurship aspects, bringing the business school and the engineering school together. So if you can share some of the information about the translational program and how we could potentially learn from that and then implement some of the aspects here.
Anita, you know everything from day one for this program because we were together in this journey. This master actually builds on our experience from the first biomedical engineering master that was established in Greece 30 years ago as an initiative in the Erasmus initiative. And 2 years ago, we re-established this program at NTUA with a sharper focus on translational engineering and translational aspects in general and innovation. This was done because we realized that there is a great opportunity in the field which gets unrealized. So health and wellness is a field where innovation can have an enormous and direct impact on the one hand, and on the other hand, we know that innovation and entrepreneurship often emerge in the intersection of diverse fields, and here we have where biological insights meet engineering solutions to address real-world health challenges. So that's the idea behind this translational engineering, health and medicine master program. And what we have noticed during the first 2 years of operation of this program is a growing, an increased interest from life scientists. So we have seen that there is a trend now. The life scientists are increasingly drawn to innovation and entrepreneurship. And actually now, during this cohort of students, we have 50% of our students are medical doctors. So as already mentioned, biomedical engineering is by definition a highly interdisciplinary field. And besides being an opportunity for entrepreneurship, this also is a big challenge because people working in the field do not speak the same language. So there is a lot of work we have to do in order to enable our students speak the same language, understand the same terms, the same vocabulary, the same concepts. And to this end, we build foundational courses, foundational engineering, coding courses for life scientists. And with the valuable help of the medical school from the University of Athens, we also built some foundational course in medicine, pathophysiology, histopathology, and all these things. for engineers. And by these courses, our aim is to have our students speak the same language, which is very important, is essential to the program's translational focus. And this will enable our multidisciplinary teams of students collaborate efficiently across disciplines and borders. We try to embed entrepreneurship already to the curriculum with the help of people. I see Ioannis here and also Vasilis Papakonstantinou from MIT Enterprise Forum. We co-designed courses on entrepreneurship and we based all the approach on international approaches. We combined the Stanford Biodesign program and the disciplined entrepreneurship from MIT. Of course, a very important piece of that puzzle is our collaboration from day one with Columbia and with the Vodosakis Foundation. Our students get to spend summers at Columbia's laboratories, mainly at the Biomedical Engineering Department, but now, last year we had also in ophthalmology, I think, from the medical school. Our students, most of our students continue their research with the hosting labs. They continue their research on their master thesis. But beyond the research, what's really valuable here is the exposure of our students to global expertise and the global innovation ecosystem. And thank you, Elisa, very much once again for all you have done, linking our program with Columbia. Of course, we have events like we have events. We showcase success stories. We organize regularly, annually. We have the Digital Health Day, the NTUA Digital Health Day, where our students pitch their projects in front of investors. We have some success stories already, and we are very happy. And we do our best to help changing the culture and for our students to see the starting a business as a viable career option.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you for leading this initiative also. We were a very small part of it, but it goes to show that there is the capital, intellectual capital, and you just need to organize and be able to launch a program like that. So hopefully we can do that in another also program the same way. So now we can take some of your questions. I think there's some microphones. I see.
In the back from the students.
In the back from the students, yes, absolutely. Thank you. Are you a student? Please, go ahead. And microphone there. Is it on?
Okay. So first of all, I want to thank the panelists for their valuable input here in this discussion, and I think it's very, very useful to have our voices heard and actually drive innovation in Greece forward. So I wanted to ask our professors, as a new student here at NTUA, and also as a board member in a student organization, how can we have the student organization voices heard in this kind of discussion and have them be part in this kind of project?
Nadia, you want to take it? Or Costantza?
Let's take one more.
One more question. So save your thoughts, and then one more question. Also from students. Yes? Question? You're not a student? Okay. Student questions? Yes, we can take a non-student question. Wait for the microphone just quickly. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the great presentation. My question is, what can the layman do to help you go from lab to market through Greece's innovation? If we are not academics, if we're not entrepreneurs, what can we do to help
That's a great question. I had Costantza answer that one. So, Nadia, you want to answer the first question?
Yeah, I think we very much value students' input and always try to incorporate their suggestions. And I don't know which students' organization we're working for. From which school are you?
I'm not.
No, not you. The School of Electrical Engineering. You have a lot of organization. I think you are working with IEEE. It's a big one, and we are collaborating. We are counselors of IEEE students branch, and we have very active collaboration with students. We organize together events, and of course we are open to your suggestions always, but not only to IEEE. There are also other organizations like Young Minds, which is a university-wide organization, and other organizations in other schools. And I'm sure that everyone is very happy to collaborate with student organizations. And also we can find ways to formalize this kind of collaboration, which of course exists. We are providing help in every event that you are organizing always. We're very supportive not only in terms of space, giving space, but also finding speakers, organizing all the events, even as counselor in your challenges, your extreme challenge that you are every year hosting here. All of us, all the professors of the school, we are supporting this kind of organization. I don't know, Dora, if you have
the question was what you can do, okay? So what you can do is, get involved. You are the people that are willing and ready. If you are a member of the student organizations, that means that you have interest in the common good, and you have specific interests in making, in organizing one area or another area, right? So I think that you are the ambassadors to reach the other students in any steps that the faculty and the university takes to shaken up the university body to make them builders, right? So you are the ambassadors, I think, because you spend a lot of time talking to the other students. So I guess one natural role would be to help us, spread the news on activities to do collaborations. Like, for example, we can do some activities in collaborating with Columbia and NTUA and Endeavor and Ioannis, and we will need student participation, right? People will come up and say, I want to participate into this program, to this activity, okay? So spreading out the news and motivating and supporting maybe the organization of this kind of events would be a big hand into getting the message through and using you as the ambassadors.
Said that one day, without students we can't do anything. We can talk all day. But one day you can be on this panel, and then you can say how you built the amazing incubator makerspace. So that's what we're looking forward to. John, quickly, and then we get to Costantza.
Yeah, I'll just say one second, which is students can also organize events and activities. The makerspace, 100% started by students. And all I did is get the keys, and I had the account number to find things, but they did the organization. And I showed pictures from that hackathon. All I did was judge the hackathon and reserve the conference room and help them with the t-shirts. They raised the rest of the money. So, feel empowered. You have a very supportive faculty, and students can also arrange events, invite speakers, and do all those things. So, feel like you're in charge as well.
Okay, last question, Costantza, the layman, how can they help?
Before answering the last question, I would like to also to add that /event has been initiated by students. Slash is the biggest tech event in Europe and one of the biggest internationally. So we guys are now starting a new event in Athens. Join us in this effort because I think we have the opportunity to create an amazing global tech event here in Athens. So this should start from the student community. And I encourage you to look into the Slash event. It's an amazing event. It started small. It started from a community like you, and now it has become global. So.
Our organization was invited at your headquarters and we discussed about Panelists.
There you go. So you're already there. I don't need to spread the word. You all know about Panelists. Yes. So last question. I think the key thing is to foster collaboration between corporates and university labs. And in order to do that, you have to get in touch the big corporates that they actually face a problem, and then ask the students, the researchers, to solve the problem. As simple as that. Just bring them together, bridge the gap. And from that, so you can also have, you're creating pilot opportunities and use case testing grounds. And from that, you can start changing the academic program, the syllabus. So one brings the other. It's a stepping process, stepping stone. But I think we are all on the same page.
On that note, it's a stepping process, and I think it was a big step today. And thank you for your participation, and I want to thank the panelists again. I hope we can keep on building. And some last words?
Yeah. Just one word for the students, that the university is going to support every team that comes at every hackathon that you want to create. So we expect from you to come to us, and you are going to get support. I mean, we rely very much on the initiative from the students and on the enthusiasm of the students, and on the students getting more mature in their enthusiasm also. So I want to thank everybody for coming here, especially our visitors and also the panel here. I think that the topic today is really important. It's a really important bet for NTUA, for the universities in general in Greece, and for Greece in general, I believe. And I would like also to thank you, and also we're having a reception or something, so you are please stay and we can discuss get to know each other more. So thanks a lot.